Welcome to Global One Media's Stocks to Watch. Publicly listed Canadian North Resources is in focus today. The Canadian Exploration and Development Company focuses on metals that are critical for clean energy, electric vehicles, and high-tech industries. Canadian North Resources Head of Corporate Development, Sophy Cesar, joins me in this series, celebrating the trailblazing women whose dedication and innovation are paving the way for a more inclusive and dynamic future in resource extraction. Welcome, Sophie.
Hi, Michelle. It's always a pleasure.
So, Sophie, you are head of corporate development at Canadian Resources. Walk us through your professional background and how you came to be part of the mineral exploration sector.
Well, Michelle, it's actually very interesting. So I come from a diverse background of communications, marketing, and operations. And I've always been drawn to sectors that had significant growth potential. And mineral exploration definitely presents that opportunity. I was inspired to start with these small publicly traded mining companies about 12 years ago. And I was very lucky that all my skills that I had previously had really was very transferable into mining and exploration. I originally started out in investor relations and since then have grown to corporate development.
Fabulous. So when you look over your career, how has working in this industry 12 years ago, what has that experience been when you compare it to work experience in other roles, other sectors?
Well, I actually came from a very female-dominated sector previously. So it was a little bit of a shock, I would say, coming into this industry that, is male dominated, is traditionally male dominated. So it did allow for a learning curve. But I think that, at the same time, while it presents unique challenges, there's also unique opportunities there for women.
Yeah, okay. What a shift that must have been for you. When you first started in exploration, tell us about the challenges that you faced and your approach to meeting them.
Oh, well, that's great. I guess, and it still is sometimes the challenge, or I would say something that's very notable. When I first started, I was definitely the only woman in the room. Yes, around the boardroom table, in meetings. So that was a bit of a shock. Luckily, things have definitely shifted in the last 12 years. There are definitely organizations and networking groups that are promoting women in, it's actually called Women in Mining. So in the town that I'm based, I make a point out of, every meeting, every networking event that they host that I can attend to go and further network with women. And that allows us then to provide opportunities for each other in the industry. So I think that that's one of the things that's definitely changed, that helps, with myself. It also allows for us, even if we're not able to open up opportunities or bring other women, on board, it allows a sounding board for us to discuss certain problems or challenges that we're facing, in a certain project or with a certain company. So it's nice to have that different perspective and someone to be able to understand the challenges that you're going through.
We know diversity includes men in the conversation as well. So when we talk about working towards a shared vision or making big changes, what sort of support have you received from your work environment, your colleagues at CNRI?
Wow, one of the great things about Canadian North is that we do actually, on a corporate level, on a board level, they take it very, very seriously. So, like you said, it's inclusivity. So, yes, it does incorporate women. We do have a female board member. I am part of the management executive team when it comes to to decision making. But as well, when we look at the fact that we're in Canadians North and we're in an Indigenous community, an Indigenous territory, we make it very much a priority to be inclusive in terms of hiring from that local community, which I've mentioned, And then even that hiring that we're doing, it's
Mm.
also very diversified. So there are, if I think back at the previous years at camp, I would say, yes, there is still more males, but, we're seeing the female representation increase as well at that, a qualified person, geologist level. There are women that are there with our team providing input and expertise.
So would you say from your perspective, you're seeing the talent pool of women qualified to be a part of this industry at executive level increase over the years?
I am. And I think that, as we get out there and we talk about it like you and I are doing, it allows women that are not in the industry, but are potentially studying something that could be applicable to mining exploration and mining development to see that, what, it's not a male dominated industry. There are opportunities for me there. And I think that's really important. And I try as much as possible every opportunity I get when I go to an event and I see another woman, I said, wow, it's great to see you here. I hope you come back, and to try and, get that balance in the room. I think that we need that.
Over the years, when we talk about diversity, we have to remake the business case. You have spoken to investors over the years. Do you feel more investors are also becoming more aware of the value of diverse management teams and boards?
I think so. I think as investors become more educated, that they're looking for more ESG, which is environmental sustainability and governance. They're looking at that governance part to see that there is more women in the role. So I think that they appreciate it. Some people definitely look at only investing. I actually found a fund that had only companies, publicly traded companies, that only had female CEOs in it. And it was actually a very well-performing fund. So I think that investors are actually interested in that perspective and seeing that change at the C level.
You mentioned being the only woman in the boardroom once. I wonder what advice you'd have for men and women, perhaps, or any younger person who wants to grow their career. What would have been useful for you to have known in the early days of your career?
That's a really good question. I think it's not so much knowing, but the advice I would give is trust yourself. So I think especially as women, sometimes we don't trust our opinion or our knowledge on the situation. But I think that we bring a very, very unique perspective into situations that are normally male dominated. So trust that instinct, trust your knowledge, trust your education, and then don't be afraid to speak up. You could be wrong, but listen, just as the probability and percentage wise of you being wrong is probably equal to the same as your male colleague in the room. So don't be put off by that. So find your voice and trust in your instincts and your education and everything that you know.
This International Women's Day, we're shining a spotlight on the women who are breaking barriers and contributing to the sustainability of the global mining industry. You just heard from Head of Corporate Development for Canadian North Resources, Sophy Cesar. Sophie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Michelle, and happy Women's Day to you.